evil stepfather who regularly beat me up as a child, gets what he deserves. When I was 15, my mom started dating a man she met on a dating website. I didn't like him the first time I met him, and 2 months later he moved into the house. About 3 weeks after he moved in, he took my skateboards, self-built half-pipe, ramps, BMX bike, ice hockey gear, and many other things to the dump one day while I was at school. He said he did this because he didn't want all of my crap cluttering up his garage. Maybe 2 months later, he punched me in the stomach for the first time because I got up from the dinner table without asking to be excused. From there, it escalated into full-fledged beatdowns for the smallest perceived slight to his authority. One day he decided to take my extensive Pokémon card collection, my even larger comic book collection, my Game Boy and PS2 with all the assorted games, and my fantasy and sci-fi book collection, and got rid of it all because 15-year-old boys should be playing football and baseball, not being a fag nerd playing with Pokémon cards and reading comics and books. I would like to add that he was a middle school teacher, and in his off time refereed and umpired local middle and high school sports games. My mom never intervened, and in fact acquiesced when he demanded that she stop giving me lunch money, because the little crap will just spend it on comics and other gay crap. One day, I took maybe $3 and some change out of his change jar so that I could buy a slice of pizza and some fruit punch during lunch at school, because I was tired of being hungry. My twin sister had always been a bit of an asshole and frequently blackmailed me into doing her chores from a young age. I was fed up and refused to do something, so she told him what I had done. This man actually called the police and pressed a larceny charge against me, and once the police had left, he proceeded to beat me senseless. At that point, I ran away. When the cops found me and returned me home, I found out that he had been trying to talk my mom into sending me away to military school or something similar. I ran away again, and between having run away several times and the larceny charge, I ended up turning 16 in juvenile detention. I spent the next couple of years miserable and afraid, frequently contemplating suicide. Once I was out on my own, I didn't speak to my mom for several years. We eventually reconciled, and by that point they had married. I was a lot bigger than I had been as a young teenager, and had gotten into weightlifting, so he no longer acted like he was going to punch me to make me flinch, much less actually hit me, and we basically avoided each other for the most part. My mother later found out that she had stage 4 cancer and no longer wanted to waste any of the time she had left with him, so she had a lawyer draft a separation agreement whereby he would receive a set amount of money upon separation and would have 45 days to retrieve his belongings from the house. He had spent his entire inheritance in 6 months and then had to sell his mother's house that he grew up in to settle his debts shortly before they started dating, and my mother bought the house back from the bank before they married. She allowed him to keep the house, and he moved back into his mother's home. My mother passed away about 9 months after their separation, and despite the agreement, she had been allowing him to come get his stuff piecemeal. I put an immediate end to that. He was past the deadline to remove his personal effects, and they were now legally mine to dispose of as I saw fit. I sold his baseball card collection, around $14,000, and his autographed sports memorabilia, roughly $11,000. I also sold all of his woodworking equipment, along with several finished pieces of furniture he had made, about $6,500, I think. I kept his mother's engagement ring, platinum band, 3 diamonds, roughly 2 carats, her wedding band, his coin collection. I also collect coins, and some tools and other odds and ends. Now comes the real fun. Around a month ago, I finally saw him at the grocery store. As he was leaving, I approached him. I told him I had sold his collections as he was pushing his cart toward his car. He reacted exactly as I expected. He took a swing at me multiple times. I already had my phone ready to dial 911. Several of these punches missed, and the ones that did connect didn't have much effect because he's nowhere near as strong as he was 20 years ago in his 40s, and I'm no longer a skinny little 15-year-old. He continued trying to punch me as I spoke to the 911 operator and was actively ramming his grocery cart into my new Toyota as the police officers pulled into the parking lot. He was arrested for assault, communicating threats, and destruction of property. As a result, he lost his job and pension at the local middle school, and because he had never learned how to save money while married to my somewhat wealthy mother, he ended up having to sell his mother's house. He hired an expensive lawyer, thinking he could somehow beat the charges, and the legal fees destroyed his finances. My nephew, who was on the football team, made it well known to his friends that he had just been arrested and convicted of assault and other charges, and that he had also beat me as a child, causing several parents to call for him to resign from refereeing and umpiring at local sports games. My niece and my girlfriend's much younger sister attend the middle school where he worked, and they say he was universally disliked. When he came to the school to get his belongings, he made a big scene and ended up hysterically crying as he left. At least, that's what the kids attending summer school heard. His son, whom he was equally abusive toward, refused to take him in or help him. So the abusive stepfather ended up taking a job as a cashier at Walmart so he could afford the rent on his crappy little trailer in an absolutely awful neighborhood. Even though that Walmart isn't the closest one to my house, it's now the only place I go grocery shopping or to buy anything. I purposely stand in line longer than necessary just so he can be the one who rings up my purchases. The first time I went through his line, he attempted to ring up multiple items twice to overcharge me, and when I called him on it, he said I was mistaken. I asked for a manager, and the manager believed him that it was an accident, but he learned he couldn't get away with it. The second time, I made sure to be as nice as possible, and still had to ask for a manager because he was overwhelmingly rude. The people in line behind me backed me up, and he got in trouble for that. Every time I go there and step into his line, I watch him die a little inside, and it gives me such satisfaction. Sometimes I'll say I'm paying with exact change, and as I'm about to hand him the money, I'll say, "Oh, I didn't realize I had rare coin from his collection in my pocket. I guess I'll use my credit card." I just sold his expensive ratcheting wrench set, and on Monday, when he works again, I'm going to go buy my daughter one of the nicer above-ground pools. As he rings it up, I'm going to tell him, "I know, daughter is going to love this pool. It's not like I would have ever used those expensive ratcheting wrenches anyway." Tit for tat fam, tit for tat. Amen. People speak against it, but it's so satisfying. My stepdad was a real prick too. When I used to visit after leaving home, I'd do petty stuff like turn the hot tap on while he was in the shower and shake up his beers. Before I left home I trained my mom's parrot to say Satan every time he walked into the room. LMAO. Too bad the mother only decided it was worth breaking up with him when her own time was in jeopardy, and not her child's. She was a deeply flawed person, to be frank. She had a lot of issues and wasn't a good mother until I was in my early 20s, when she contacted me to apologize for everything. My older sister left when she was 16 because my mom just didn't know how to raise children. Next story. Abusive mom had me disowned by entire family and banned from grandfather's funeral. Original post. This woman is insane. She has her entire side of the family wrapped around her finger despite her being completely unhinged and psychopathic. She abused me and my sibling our entire lives, but she got less physical as she aged and I thought she had fixed herself. Turns out she just got sneaky. She's always telling lies that make herself out to be some victim, and over recent years she has decided that I'm the one she wants to portray as her abuser since I became vocal about her abuse of me. I cut contact with her a year ago when I found out she was drip-feeding my family lies about me, nasty stuff like claiming she was raising my children because I'd abandoned them. She lived on my street, so she just saw them for a few minutes every other day. She had been telling the family that I had terrible mental illness and not to bother me, explaining why most of them had barely returned my calls or messages in months. When I told them about my mother's lies, they looked at me like I was having an episode, and no one supported me. My grandfather died a week ago. He was my absolute world. I'm devastated about it. Then a few days ago I got a call from my mother, telling me that I've been disowned and I'm banned from attending the funeral. Her story as to why did not make sense whatsoever, and she flitted between saying my grandmother must have said I'm disowned because she's mentally ailing, and claiming that I said my late son was not allowed to be mentioned in the funeral service. This absolutely did not happen. I never said this, to be clear. All of my family have blocked me, refusing to answer voicemails, calls, texts, the door, etc. None of them even bothered to contact me to ask what happened, and none of them will hear my side. They just took her at her word that I'm this monster after probably years of groundwork she laid. I have no clue what she said or done, but I have done nothing to warrant this. Zero drama, zero negative words, nothing. I sent flowers, sympathy cards, called and gave condolences to everyone just before this kicked off, and everyone was kind and receptive. Unfortunately, I know that she has likely made up some terrible lie, hurting my bereaved elderly grandmother at the time of a devastating loss, as well as the rest of my family, by stirring up drama in my name that I am completely innocent of. She's robbed me of my ability to say my last goodbye to my grandfather. She's robbed me of the rest of my family. She has them all believing that I'm some monster, and the worst part is I don't even know what she's accusing me of, because it was clearly so bad that they've all blocked me on everything and are refusing to return my calls and messages, even when I've explained I have no idea what is going on. Her last act of control over me was to devastate my grandmother and my name, ruin my reputation, and break my heart by causing me to be disowned and banned from the funeral. I'm at a literal snapping point now. She's gone too far. Smashing her windows and flooding the house with a hose pipe for the 5 hours she'll be at the funeral isn't enough. Help me out here. What can I do to make this woman suffer without landing myself in prison? Hell, I have a clean record and I'd probably get off without prison time for most crimes at this point, so I'm open to suggestions. I beg of you, this woman needs comeuppance. Edit. As an aside, I no longer care what the family think of me, so I don't worry what they think of me by way of my retaliation. I'm hurt that they'd all cause me this misery without even giving me the chance to know what's been said or to defend myself. They took her at her word and have read my messages describing my pain and distress at the situation and haven't bothered to reply. I find that alone unforgivable from them, and I'm fine to move on without them in my life, so you'll just look like the monster she's portraying you as is not a factor I'm concerned with. Reading the top comments before the updates. You go to the funeral. Go in after everyone's gone in. She's probably told everyone you didn't want to come and don't want to talk to them. Be calm and dignified and sit at the back and be polite to everybody. Don't give them any reason to think you're the unhinged one. Ignore her but be absolutely lovely to everyone else and, if you get the opportunity, drip feed details and say things like, "Oh, I've missed you, why haven't you been in touch?" Put on your best Meryl Streep performance and make your mum look like the insane one. OP, please do as instructed above and attend the service. Do not damage your mother's property because she will put you in jail and you won't have a single excuse the judge will listen to. Go to the funeral, take flowers for your grandpa, and be on your best behavior. Talk to everyone but your mother. Chit-chat and catch up. Don't badmouth your mother. Don't gossip about what she's done. Your goal is for the family to see you aren't mentally ill. If you must get even, do it later when the family isn't watching. I pray that instead you get therapy and leave that hag of a mother far behind. OP, I've lived this life, and I stood outside the proverbial window, knocking and asking to be heard. Then I quit trying. I walked away. I grieved. I was angry. But I didn't talk about any of it to anyone except my significant other. Then later, my kids, when they became adults and wanted to know what happened. In reality, nothing happened except I'm the family scapegoat. And trust me on this, nothing you say will make any difference. That was a very hard lesson. So I went no contact with some members and very low contact with others. I lived my life on my terms. I learned how to manage my birth family and protected my significant other and kids. I never told anyone outside what was going on. I lied a lot to friends and acquaintances to avoid prying. I got peace in return. It is still worth it. I live a good life and I'm thankful every single day. My significant other and kids are happy and wonderful. They don't like interacting with my birth family either, so it's understood when/if we need to leave. When I do interact with my birth family, I'm gracious and kind but very non-committal. If I do have to meet up, I have dozens of polite exit strategies to get away, including, but not limited to, little white lies. This has gone on for decades. Every so often someone lashes out at me. Often for bizarre reasons. But I stay gracious and kind. And truthful about my life. What's happened is that their facade is cracking because I never became the crazy person, the mean person, the vindictive person. I never became any of their lies. OP, I'm pretty sure you are the scapegoat, so if you want my advice, go to no contact. You do not have to make any announcement, you just stop calling. Drop out of family chats. Cut off or limit access on social media. Create separation for at least a year, long enough to forge your own life untangled from your birth family. It's much easier to keep boundaries in place with space. And read about the scapegoat family system. I have a feeling you'll see yourself. Study both your parents and siblings as scapegoaters. I never discussed this stuff with my family, not even when I was seeing a therapist and officially diagnosed decades ago. Yep, I'm old. My family still doesn't know about that. However, I do drop the term if it's appropriate. Wow, I was just scapegoated. Like a mic drop. They still don't know how to react or what to say when I do that. And they never disagree or defend me. They just shut up. Silence is golden, as they say. Thanks for reading. Seek peace. Give yourself lots of time to heal and break those generational curses. None of this happens overnight, but it's supremely gratifying when you're on the other side. As for your grandpa, no one can stop you from having pictures in your house and giving him a toast on anniversaries and holidays. Celebrate the good things and be thankful he was in your life. Blessings. You are stronger than you realize. I really appreciate this. My brain is a vegetable. I didn't sleep at all the day before writing this, so I don't really have all the spoons to reply right now, but thank you so much. The fact that you took so much time out of your day to write all of that when I'm feeling at one of my lowest points to date. I'm emotional right now. Thank you. Update. Thank you so much for the words, everyone. I was on day 3 of no food or sleep when I wrote this. I still haven't slept, but your words have all helped ground me and encouraged me to go to the funeral, hold my head up high, mourn my grandfather, and walk away from them all. I also contacted my mental health team and was able to access 3 days worth of anxiety meds and sleeping pills to help me regulate and be calmer to face the funeral. Thank you for the kindness and empathy shown during my absolute meltdown. Funeral update. I went with my friend, on copious amounts of anxiety meds. We were quickly seated and the service was lovely. Afterwards, I just walked past the family straight to the car, with my head held high. One relative, Granddad's daughter-in-law, his son from a previous marriage's wife, sent me a kind message almost immediately afterwards saying she saw me and hoped I was alright. She said she would have spoken to me to check in if she had seen me afterwards, but obviously I didn't hang around. We had a chat. It's nice to know there's one person, even if it's a distant relative, who isn't a flying monkey. I'm so proud that I fought through my anxiety and went. My alarm this morning said, "Do it for Granddad." I honestly don't know if I'd have had the courage to go without all of your words and encouragement, so thank you so much. Because of you all, I didn't let her win. Updating with a photo of the man, the legend himself, being the best granddad in the world. Final update. There's no inheritance or will, poor family, but the final update is that my aunt sent me weird messages after the funeral, still refusing to tell me what was said or what I'd done. It was confusing because she went between anger and saying she'd hug me so tight the next time she saw me. She said she needed space, so we left that interaction on what seemed like a positive note. Oh, and it was wild. She said she didn't see me at the funeral and, if I'd have seen you, I'd have hugged you and brought you to the front row with us. When I said I was sitting at the back, devastated, watching my family in the front row, unable to be there supporting my sobbing grandmother, my aunt replied, "Oh yes, that was me. I asked your mother to tell you to stay away from us all." It seemed very bipolar. I asked her if there was any reason why no one would tell me directly what I was being accused of, and she didn't answer. She just said she needed time. I had already decided I'd be cutting contact after this. The hurt was too much, but I'd hoped she'd eventually clarify the situation for my own closure. A couple of days after her last message to me, my aunt messaged my ex-husband trying to deliver a birthday gift for my son to his house, personally, instead of to mine. He politely replied that he didn't want to be involved, having had no contact with my family in years, and to either deal with me or send any gifts through the post. She replied with a nasty message. It actually read like it was written by my mother, which would explain the projection that happened later, saying his reply clearly came from me and that I was using the children as weapons and trying to control people. This entire conversation happened while I was blissfully unaware, having thought my aunt just needed space and would explain things later. Meanwhile, she was accusing me of more things behind my back. No one had asked me if they could see my children, or contacted me personally about birthday gifts for my son. I would likely have facilitated that for his birthday. But they went through my ex-husband, and when he said he didn't want to be involved with my family, we've been separated for 5 years, my aunt insulted both him and me, accused me of being a crappy person, and said I was manipulating my ex with my version. She also said, maybe there's a reason she won't let you hear our version, because it won't be the same as hers. Then tell him your version? Please. Because then I would get to hear what I've apparently done. Again, they were accusing me of horrid things, saying and doing things I was completely innocent of, all while never speaking to me directly. He sent me screenshots of their messages. And that was the last straw. I blocked them all and changed my phone number. I have no idea what is wrong with these people, but I never did find out what I was accused of. I thought my aunt was close to telling me, and I gave her the space she requested. Then a few days later she was spewing vitriol, accusing me of more crap I didn't do, making wild assumptions, again, all without ever speaking to me. I somehow managed to become the bad guy all over again, and they will likely always believe their version. It's okay, I know mine. It just sucks. It really cemented for me that my mother must have been laying the groundwork for this for years. I've had nothing but polite interactions with the family for years, yet this showed a deep level of hostility toward me and my character. This couldn't have happened overnight. Or from one lie. Surely not.